and welcome to Classical Schmassical, the anti-classical classical music podcast. Tune in on occasional Saturdays as we discuss, deconstruct, and dissect what it means to be a musician in the modern world. I'm your host, Alexa Letourneau. I use any pronouns, and our guest this week is Asher Laub, who is a unique entrepreneur, owner of FD Productions Entertainment Group, a producer, composer, a live performer. Asher, welcome. It's so exciting to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so clearly you are a very multidisciplinary artist. And I'm wondering, as we start out, if you can just talk to me a little bit about your career path and how you've ended up where you're at now doing all these different things.
Sure. Well, my career path actually happened pretty naturally over many, many years. Although it sort of boils down to it was paying the bills initially, and that was not my initial intention, like moving to New York from upstate. I was kind of looking for ways to work my way through school and just like, I don't know, buy some new clothes and just have some money to take out girls on dates and stuff. I don't know. And it just sort of evolved into this like full-time career over a number of years. Like I'm gonna say like 10 years. Took about 10 years for it to become a full-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then ever since I've been kind of running a bunch of different races within the context of music, wearing a bunch of hats, as an artist, as a composer, producer, live performer, electric violinist is my main thing, and co-managing FD Productions, the entertainment group that you mentioned. So yeah, it's pretty busy. I do enjoy it. Definitely lots of stressors like any normal job, which as I can attest to because I've been in normal jobs and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, really cool. So one of the things that when I was kind of looking into to get to know you a little bit better in advance of this podcast, that I found to be really interesting and unique was I know that you've had your physical health and your musical career really butt heads at times. And I definitely have had some experiences like that as well. What was that experience like, and how did it sort of shape your current practice?
Yeah, well, it's nice to talk to other people who are in a similar boat, because it can be lonely at times. I don't know, being the only guy on stage with like, I can't say the only person with health problems, but with my unique health problems. So in my case, I've been playing since I was 2, so I've been putting a lot of strain on my spine,
Mm-hmm.
and there aren't like clear directives among private teachers, as good as they are as teachers within the realm of physical therapy. So that's really what I needed for many years, but I needed more than that. I needed like comprehensive, I don't know, like nutritional guidance and all sorts of other stuff that I really didn't get until I really splurged, spent a lot of money when I became desperate in New York as a professional musician, trying to figure out how I can continue this career. So uh, pretty much, I've been managing chronic inflammatory condition, which has pretty much devolved into adrenal insufficiency, which is a very serious condition. And I've sort of been managing that day to day for the last like 10 years at least. And um, I should be grateful. I'm always kind of looking for more, looking to like get better, stronger, healthier, achieve more. I'm one of those people, but it's like interviews like this are helpful for me to kind of take a step back and realize how far I've come literally from a wheelchair. But I forget that every day, and I just think like, okay, well, I'm strong and I'm healthy now, and now what? So that being said, it's interesting. All the freelance performers that I work with in many different capacities, whether it's a live show or a corporate type event or a wedding or whatever fundraiser charity event, they quite a few of them know about my health history because they saw I kind of disappeared for a number of years. I was on the scene pretty busy prior to that, prior to like 2014, and now I'm really busy again. They kind of like want to know what happened to me and
Mm-hmm.
why I'm back, and they've expressed their own health issues as well. So I've had a number of these conversations with people who have different types of issues
Yeah.
that are not quite like mine, but like they've asked me about diet. It's just been a very interesting just road that I've been on that I'd like to maybe, I don't know, share people's stories, maybe write a book about it or something like that, compile something Because just speaking to you, like there are a lot of musicians, a lot of people in the music industry. It's a strain on their back to play sax, guitar, piano, whatever. And this is something that they depend on. Even dancers. I've worked with dancers,
Yeah.
many of them. Anyway, I could keep going on, but it's really fascinating topic. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that I know very, very few musicians who haven't had some issues with recurring pain or chronic pain, or for me personally, I'm a flutist, so doing this all the time, and I'm very
Yeah.
hypermobile. So like my joints
Yeah.
don't do the work for me.
Yeah.
And it's and I think all of us deal with it, but there's this conservatory mindset of you have to be there 4 or 5 hours a day every day, and your
Yeah.
physical health has to take a backseat to your mental health and to your then musicality above all. And I think that it's really, I really value the chance to openly discuss these
Mhm.
issues, because I think it's so taboo, and it's doesn't need to be, because we all go through it, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I would love to read that
Mhm.
book. I think you should absolutely. That would be a really wonderful resource to have out in the world.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna give you credit for it once it's out. But yeah, do like a bunch of interviews on, I guess, musicians and how they've coped, like professional musicians. I think that'll be a cool thing. Anyway, you
Yeah.
heard it first.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the reason that I'm a composition major over a flute major. So I was like, well, I can probably compose no matter what, but we'll see what happens with playing. And
That's really that's a really interesting point. So I've actually tried to shift into production from the 200 events that I'm doing in person year to year in order to take some of that weight off my back. Of course, sitting at a computer and doing production, as you can see here, it's like that can also be a strain on your back.
absolutely.
But having said that, it's funny that I'm sure you understand why everybody wants to be a DJ, because you're literally like sitting there and you're doing turntables. You don't have to put much strain on your back, and the computer's right in front of you. It's like a
Right.
perfect desk job for a
Yeah.
live performer.
The most
Minus
ergonomic
the
instrument.
what's that?
The most ergonomic instrument, I think, is electronic.
Exactly.
You can do it however.
Exactly. Yeah. Of course, you and I know that there's something a little more meaningful in the live instrument.
Sure, definitely. But I think that that's a really good point. And was production something that you picked up kind of after you had your health issues arise, or has it always been an interest, or?
So, I mean, just having grown up in the classical realm of
Mhm.
a training, as you have also, it's just been natural for me to learn composition, and I started dabbling in it. I think it was Cakewalk. I don't know if you remember that program, in high school,
Yeah.
composing symphonies, and I just forgot about it until a few years ago, and I realized, oh, whatever happened to Cakewalk? And so now I'm doing symphony recordings and EDM recordings, and well, the EDM started about 6 years ago, but I realized, okay, I really need to kind of build this up and maybe work on sync. And there are many other aspects of the music industry that I could kind of earn a living with, instead of just being this, passive type of person showing up to gigs. And
Sure.
yeah, not that I'm passive in a lot of the events, but some of them, just I've just sort of been
Yeah.
sleepwalking through my career, just sort of assuming, okay, I should just show up to a gig and this is how I get paid. But there are many other ways to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think as a performer, sometimes you show up and you play the music that you have been working on and you're told to play, and then you go home. But I've
Yeah.
also started doing this kind of recording and producing, and there's a lot more to it, and it's a lot more stressful
Oh
than I
yeah.
ever imagined it being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real tough. It's like you envision like a really simple production, and it's like then you got to think about the mixing and the mastering and the instruments, and then all the tech issues that come with it. It's endless.
Yeah, yeah.
Endless.
It's like playing whack-a-mole. Like you fix one problem and then four more pop up over in this other area of the flow. And how did you
Yeah.
learn to do all that? Did you take classes, or, apprentice with anybody, or just mess around and figure it out?
A combination of both.
Sure.
So I already know composition. I've been in it professionally for 20 years, and then like my entire life, just you know, again working with Cakewalk and just being in orchestras and stuff like that. private lessons. But in terms of the software, that's something I've done a combination of consulting. There's a bunch of online courses people have access to now. And I've spent hours like dabbling in like best ways to use Reaper, which is my DAW, in tandem with Apollo Twin. So yeah, a lot of it is trial and error if you don't want to kind of spend an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I definitely I'm in the trial and error process right now, also with Reaper, and
I think everybody is. Even if you take a course, you're still in trial and
yeah.
error. It's sort of like they guide you. A lot of these courses aren't like one-to-one. A lot of them are like, okay, here's a bunch of videos that you watch.
Right, right. Or go look at this tutorial that you could get on YouTube, but you're paying to be here in college.
Yeah, and that's what I find a lot of the times. So they sort of shortcut you, but they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've just been doing a lot of recording work for free because I figure the worst that happens is I mess up, and then what are they going to do? Ask for their money back? It's the best way to train yourself, I guess.
Yeah, it's really smart. Really, really smart.
Um I one sort of I guess identifier for you on your website that's all over is this idea of a DJ violinist. And I read that and I was like, I am so interested as to what this means with those two terms smushed together like that.
So it sounds extremely unnatural to me, even after a number of years of doing that and promoting that and like having like and introducing clients to that. But it sort of came as a natural consequence of being a DJ's kind of side man, like attached at the hip kind of thing, where the DJ's kind of controlling the music. And it's like, it's something that I've been okay with on many occasions, but it is also at many times I've not been okay with when the DJ doesn't understand music theory, doesn't understand uh just keys and key changes and rhythmic changes, like really basic stuff that somebody running the show should know.
Sure.
And they do know because they're in the job, they're in the booth because they have the tech equipment and because they do like basic mixing. So that has motivated me to become more independent in my live performances, and with love to the many DJs out there. So that's how it's emerged. And I've really, and actually I feel like kind of teaching the course like this because I think that there's a lot of musicians in my position that don't even like, they want to earn a living outside of being a sideman on a bandstand, and they want to have more control of the music because they feel like this is not so tasteful for this event, or and not everything needs a techno beat like from beginning to end at an event or whatever. And there's a lot that I think that classical musicians and instrumentalists have to offer behind the booth, as that is clearly the demand among clients. Like, everybody wants a DJ now. And I anyway, getting back to my original point, I think that it's I basically found a way to strap my instrument to my back and live mix, and then kind of do switch off and pretty much just manage everything. And then I go wireless out to the dance floor, different charity events and stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you also do dancing and sort of incorporate that along with it. What got you into that?
So I reserve that really for concerts. So generally there would be a DJ that
Gotcha.
manages that. But when I do a choreographed performance, everything's pretty much set. Like I'll just like have a medley. I will pre-edit a medley, 15-minute medley, whatever the concert or performance period is. And that way I don't have to stress about the mixing, because you can't mix and dance and play. It's just like ADHD city.
Not with that attitude.
No. I mean, honestly, violin plus dancing is like too much, but that's why I pre-choreograph it with dancers. But having mentioned that, a lot of when I did like the smaller events, people, they saw me, like they saw my music videos and they're like, oh, can you just kind of spontaneously do this? And I'm like, no, I can't. So I stopped doing it because it drove me nuts, the request. And I pretty much just reserve it for concerts.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I was like, how do you possibly do all of these things? I think that's probably
You can't improv both. You can improv violin or instrument or dancing, but it's hard to do both.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably slightly different parts of your brain trying to all work together. Yeah, what got you into the idea of doing dancing and violin at the same time.
Um, well, I've done gymnastics for years
Oh,
as a
cool.
kid, so, and and actually I was booked to play an event with dancers.
Mm,
It was actually I think it was I think it started with a Bollywood event. They just love the violin, so I put on this like high energy show with dancers. It was the coolest thing ever. I did
mm,
like 3 rehearsals with the greatest dancers ever, and I actually kind of miss them.
mm,
um we just got busy doing our own things, but we did it for years, and I just started booking more and more performers, and like we did concerts in Manhattan, and it was in other in like Philadelphia. We traveled to Florida. It was awesome. And then it got to be too much managing the dancers, but um it still comes back. Like I just do a little less often now.
yeah, really cool. So I know that you've played at some of the world's like truly great, well-known stages, venues, events, that type of thing. Is there for you, is there a different kind of pressure or any kind of stage fright that comes with these venues, or is it mostly just this is what I'm here to do and I'm gonna do it? Or
So I'll say I've done about 2,000 events since I
Mhm.
moved to New York, and like professional performances, and 99% of them are like, I'm cool, like
Sure.
not even thinking about people watching me or anything.
Mhm.
Um, but when it comes to something epic like Madison Square Garden or Carnegie Hall uh or like PBS
Mhm.
or Master Theater or whatever, these are shows where all eyes are on you, plus like you got to get it right.
Mhm.
Like it's not like 100 eyes or 200 eyes, or like it's like 3,000, 10,000, whatever eyes are on you. And then it's like things come naturally, but it's a little more I have gotten nervous at different points, like usually prior
Mhm.
to stepping on stage, like mostly around, is my tone correct? Is the sound guy sleeping behind the wheel, which happens often when you need that most. Um, so yeah, there definitely been many moments where a little bit nervous. Am I going to say the right thing? Am
Mhm.
I going to trip on stage while I'm dancing? Is someone going to step on my bow again, my $2,000 bow, like they did 10 years ago?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That
I think it happened.
sounds devastating.
Yes, yes, it was devastating.
Mid-performance or
Just before the performance, actually. That's why I have 4 bows in my case now on a double violin case. 2 violins, 4 bows.
redundancy. We love to see.
Yes, as they are necessary.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I get that. Flutes are very temperamental. And so I have like an indoor flute and the outdoor flute and the backup flute. And yeah.
You're smart. You can probably you can fit a few flutes in a small case.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
even a problem. I've especially I play a lot of piccolo as well, and like taking it on planes, I put it in my pocket. It's the best.
I'm sorry, this is metallic, miss. You're gonna have to take this out. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to track you down.
Oh, TSA
Okay.
hates flutes. They're always like taking it out and not putting it back. And I'm like, please just let me put it back in the case. They're
I'm
like,
gonna have to put this in my case, my backpack here.
yeah,
They confiscate all sorts of things that they shouldn't be, like
I know.
food.
Yeah, I've had them make me play it too to prove that it wasn't some sort of dart gun.
That wasn't enough. I need you to play this concerto by Bach.
Right.
One more
Like,
song, please.
can I please have a contrasting excerpt from that?
Oh, that
Um,
would be a good Seinfeld episode, come to think of it.
oh yeah, I love it. I think all orchestral auditions should be done by TSA agents. So you have so many projects going on, so many talents, and such like a multifaceted type career. I mean, you've addressed this a little bit, but is it ever a challenge to manage everything? And how do you deal with it? Or when do you know that it's time to let something kind of drop by the wayside or pick it back up?
Um, yeah, I definitely am managing too much in many cases, and I need to find better ways to find shortcuts, but it sort of happened because I found that interfacing with many different professionals at different points in the road, like even the artwork for a single release and like the distribution of music, I have found that I found the need, unfortunately, to manage everything. And it's not something that I enjoy. I would like to just trust somebody to just do everything competently, but at every step in the way that I have an employee or somebody do something, despite like repeated training, I have had trouble um, with them doing the job in completion. I don't know if that's a word, but so I've had to like kind of take the reins and guide them. So that's been a problem. And that's the shortcoming on my part. I should really just be hiring like better talent, but
Sure.
part of the issue is I don't have, and I haven't like settled on a manager, a dedicated manager who's just sort of percentage based, which means that they're gonna be self-motivated and I don't need to micromanage them because it's percentage based, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's wearing too many hats. Yeah, so in terms of live performance, I've had to default to just like promoters who reach out to me on a case by case basis, who don't necessarily have like a vested long term interest in me, but on a case by case interest. I've just allowed them to book me because it's like, okay, it's a gig, and but it's not a long term strategy to do things that way. The long term strategy, like if you look at long term strategy, look at somebody like Taylor Swift. I'm missing the other names. Dua Lipa. I mean, she's being managed by corporations, but what they did, which is fascinating, is as they were prepping their albums, they turned down everything for a year. They would not take anything. Now, naturally, they were bankrolled to do that. I got a mortgage, I got a family to support, but that's what I would love to do, and it would probably come back to benefit me if I did something like that. But that's really what I ultimately want to do. I want to give like a half a year off or something, like where I take nothing from any like case by case booking agents, and it's like full blown tour, like that. It's that or nothing. But that's what I'd like to be doing, and just sort of prepping a full album and a full sync album also. But I'm not there.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're talking about with the micromanaging, especially with, like you were saying, with mixing. Mistakes keep happening, and there's the urge just, well, I can just do it myself. And then if I'm the only one that there's to blame, and I find it a lot less frustrating to not have to, I guess, like, I don't have to be nice when correcting myself versus like, oh, can we, not cut all the high EQ next time or something. That's a silly example, but I think that's definitely really finding somebody you can trust is so important and so hard.
And so maybe another example you might relate to is if the production is done for you or the mixing is done for you, you just want to like a little tweak here or that or there, or something was taken out, or you want to add some small addition. You find it maybe easier to just do it yourself as opposed to having to explain like making a whole video as to where you need a certain section cut out or snipped or replaced.
Definitely. And it's your art, so you want to present it the way you want to present it. You mentioned this a little bit, but is there clearly there is a difference for you between like, this is a gig that I am doing because it will help me pay the bills, and this is a gig I'm doing because I want to do it. What sort of ratio are you at with that? Or do you approach it? Do you approach it differently? Is there a different strategy there? Or obviously finding more of the passionate gigs and fewer of the pays the bills gigs, or?
So unfortunately, I'm in this like undesirable cycle of doing gigs that are paying the bills that are not that rewarding to me. Which is, it's funny, I wouldn't have thought about that so much if we hadn't brought up the topic, and it's probably important that you did. But intermittently, like the dream gigs come in and it's like, this is so cool, I gotta keep doing this. But yeah, I unfortunately at this point that part has slowed down. When I'm doing like the big rollout campaigns, some exciting opportunities come, and I am doing every month I'm doing something really cool,
Mhm.
but it's a little bit overshadowed by the paying the bills type gigs, and it's definitely something I need to work out, and I'm constantly trying to find ways because everything's a trade-off. Like
Sure.
you're either gonna dig yourself into debt building campaigns that are of real like meaning to you. It's funny I'm talking about you when I'm talking about me, but
Yeah.
and, that's one way to go about it. The other way is to like take out a loan or have somebody bankroll you, which is it's very doable these days. But is it what you necessarily want? I don't know. It's risky. And then there's the other approaches, which is what I've been sort of straddling the line between both options, is kind of fronting some money to make things happen, and putting a lot of like late nights to produce high quality, amazing productions, and waking up blear eyed the next morning, and like just keeping things easy and like doing gigs that pay the bills. So
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really, really helpful and really good to talk about too, because I know there's always this idea of, oh, well, when music becomes your job, you don't have any joy for it anymore. And whatever your job is, but I don't know that I found that to be true. I do have gigs that are not overly joyful, but I am joyful when I get paid for them. So
the gigs that are the gigs that are not overly joyful, but you're around friends, like people that you can crack jokes with,
exactly.
definitely, passes the time. When you're around people that are like everybody's got an ego, or people aren't necessarily happy to be there, myself included, like I could be guilty of that. And the event is like not about the music as much, or it may be about the music, but it's just not, it's sort of like secondary to what's going on.
Mhm.
It's after doing it for many, many years, it's like it gets old, to be honest.
Sure.
That being said, if you've held like a day job in some other capacity, you can very quickly remember how much better your job is than that
For
like working
sure.
for the man job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I mean, my like main money making music thing right now is a wonderful company that I'm with, and we go and we sing, very easy arrangements, but I'm like, the music's easy, the people are awesome, and the
Yeah.
pay is pretty good. And so I'll go out and I'll do these gigs that don't mean the world to me musically, because the music's pretty easy, the people are awesome, and the pay is good. So
Yeah. Yeah. So the people are awesome is probably a huge ingredient
exactly.
in
Yeah,
why you're doing it. I'm I'm getting like a mix of that stuff.
sure.
Um, some gigs like the people are awesome. Other gigs is like okay, like
Yeah.
people are. It's like a desk job in terms of personalities. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. Um, so another thing that I found really interesting on your website, in your bio where it says you're working to influence societal norms and conventional thinking about musical performance, helping to break down social and physical barriers. And I think that that's a really important goal. I'm wondering if you can talk about your strategies, the way you approach that. It's a really excellent mission.
thank you so much, and having hearing that from an instrumentalist means a lot. I have a love for instrumentalists. I want instrumentalists to be more of the forefront. If it isn't like backed by an orchestra at Carnegie Hall, that or the other extreme, which is like just people ripping off their clothes on stage, fronted by major labels. I just see those two polar opposites, and I think that there's got to be something in the middle, like the Kenny G middle, or the
Yeah.
I don't know, the Yanni middle, sort of like where instrumentalists, they take the stage, there's respect for what they're playing, they don't have to be playing Paganini, but there's beauty and appreciation and among the audience, and there doesn't have to be lyrics or vocals to the performance. So naturally what I'm doing is I'm trying to push that through my own compositions and releases. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Um, and I've done a lot of different things. Like I've tried to like sell out concert tickets independently, and that's like just a drain and a half. It's just a lot easier getting booked by promoters and concert producers and stuff like that. You don't have to deal with anything but the performance. But those are some ways that I'm trying to impact the music industry, the popular music industry, especially within the US. Because we're not even talking about Europe so much. You go to Ireland or I don't know, the Netherlands, they love that stuff.
Yeah.
Different level of respect for instrumental performances. I'm trying to, and also, so there's like the performance aspect of things, and then there's just like the quality of the performance. There's just sort of getting people accustomed to, okay, like everything doesn't have to be like a striptease for you to pay attention. I realize this is an uphill battle with TikTok, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm just working. That's what I'm kind of climbing the escalator while it's going down kind of situation, but I'm trying, and I'm making some headway, and I hope that more people will fall. I think I see the impact that it's having on a micro level. I see other people taking interest in, okay, he's able to earn a full-time living. He's able to do concerts. He's able to like sell out shows. He's able to like book 200 events a year independently. He doesn't need a label. And I'm hoping that will have a ripple effect, and there are other people taking interest, and other clients and other like fans listening more and more to this type of music.
Definitely. I really love that. That I think that means a lot, especially like I'm my Composers Collective has a concert coming up that's all based on ideas behind identity, and I felt like I took the only way that I knew how to do that, and I have a piece that does have a vocalist with it because I had the text, and I was really unsure of how to express it without the text. But I think of the 6 pieces on the program, there's only 2 with voice, and I'm really excited to see what my fellow composers have come up with that speaks to these ideas, that is this really meaningful presentation of identity and belonging without I at this point feel like I use the text almost as like a crutch. Not in a bad way necessarily, and I'm very happy with the piece, but I think that there's an equal amount of expression that can happen through purely instrumental music, and it's really amazing to center that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely respect, it's trying to in that context of trying to relay a message of like the importance of belonging and identity, so on and so forth. If you want a specific message to ring through, you can't be so subtle about it.
Sure.
You want lyrics, and that's much more helpful. And I totally get it, and I totally get why people want to hear lyrics, and it's much easier, honestly, to sing along to something like that, and to catch on to like lyrics, and it works. Obviously, if it didn't work, there wouldn't be major money backing music that has lyrics. So I've collaborated with Porter Singer, for instance. She put lyrics to one of my songs, and it's a beautiful piece about like finding your center and just connecting with your inner self, and connecting with what it is that makes you happy, so on and so forth. I definitely see value in lyrics, for sure. The bulk of what I do is instrumental.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I also think there's so much value in having a message that is ambiguous and that each audience member can interpret in their own way. I think in many ways that can be even more personal than a composer having a text. And I write music that has both. I'm working on a choir piece right now, and it's mostly just in like IPA syllables because I didn't want to have that reliance on text. But I think it can really go both ways, but I think a lot more focus is definitely put on this vocal music, even in, there's a lot more chamber choirs in New York than there are chamber orchestras, because I've been trying to find a chamber orchestra to audition for, and now I'm in 5 choirs. So I think it's a really interesting balancing act.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I generally, it just seems like vocalists, they really dominate in terms of the music industry. That's how, at least I perceive it. I guess there's a reason for that.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it's interesting. I don't know that I've ever thought about it and that way, especially since there's very few truths that I think that are very similar with the pop music industry and the classical music industry, but that one still seems to be quite true across that, at least in my perspective.
So an exception to that is like the DJ festivals where it's like
Sure.
it's all instrumental and there's no live performance.
Hmm.
So that's part of why I went into the DJ realm because I was looking to make the instrument shine in a way that it wasn't really shining backing vocalists. And in other like in a large band context where there's like 20 pieces on stage or 15 pieces with the band. Um, so but it's interesting. So and I guess if you look at like artists like Lindsey Sterling, David Garrett, Damien Escobar, those guys, they're major acts, they're major touring acts. I mean, if you look at Lindsay, like she's like a circus act. Like literally, she's just brought it to the level of like in your face, ridiculous production. It's like you don't even need you play whatever.
Right.
And it would be the front and center because like they're just dancing and there's like explosions everywhere. Um, but David Garrett not as much, and Damien Escobar not as much, and
Mhm.
there's a bunch of artists like that. So I don't know. It's an interest. The landscape is ever evolving, and it's interesting to watch
Definitely.
for my
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah. One thing with your, so you were saying like having all of these releases without being part of a label. When I was when we were trying to get you on this podcast, it had a little bit of back and forth. I was away, and when I was first reached out to, it was for a release that was last month, and I said, well, if we need to get it out for this release, I'll make it happen. And then I was met with the response of, oh, well, he's got things coming out every month. And I was like sort of blown away by this. I just, how is a big question. And is it, you know, building on the same sort of body of work? Is it new releases kind of in different areas? It's
So
amazing output.
yeah, it's stressful in addition to like the live performances. I'm doing it.
Mhm.
I so my last release was Miserlou, and that was a collaboration with two amazing artists out in LA, Johannes Gritschacher and Ginny Luke. Check them out; they're legends. I'm just like
Very cool.
I just the only thing I regret is that I can't do that every month.
Mm.
It's a lot of work coordinating and like jumping over each other's schedules. Like these guys are touring all the time, and they're just trying to get to the recording studio to bounce back the music. But so whenever I can't do the collabs, I mean that's what I ultimately try to achieve is the collaborations because it just so many benefits, so
Mhm.
meaningful. I'll just like pump out my own like concerto, not concerto, but like symphony. I try to do it each month, if not like an EDM song. I just kind of blend different genres, even hip hop, instrumental. If I really run out of time, I'll do a cover, which happens often. Like that's quick and dirty and easy. Um,
Sure.
the pop covers are just like, okay, you learn the melody. It's like verse, chorus,
Yeah.
recorded in your sleep, right here.
Yeah, that was the first time when my mom asked if I wanted to be a musician, I was lying on the floor while she was playing songs on the radio and I was playing along. She's like, "How are you doing that?" It's like, "Oh, because it's not that hard." But
If you have an ear for it, you got an ear. I don't know
exactly,
if
yeah.
you
We love popping out an arrangement, but I it's very, very impressive, very cool to have that kind of schedule and consistency too, which this podcast cannot speak for necessarily, but
I
production
appreciate
takes
it.
time.
Well, it's a struggle. It's not easy. It's
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I know people who are way more productive than me. They're literally on stairs. First of all, I already mentioned them. But also, well, they have teams around, like big teams, like
sure.
not like a team of four, like a team of like 30 or 40.
Yeah,
But there are other artists like Demol Violet. I mean, the guy's like doing a cover um, and some originals like every day, every other day with a
yeah.
music video, and I don't like. And then you just see him talking on camera. He has got so much energy.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's just he's just naturally energetic. I don't think he's one of those like you know
Sure.
heroin users. He's one of those super hyped up happy guys, and I couldn't do that. I'm
Yeah.
trying, but I can't.
Well, I think from my perspective at least, you're succeeding at least in part in having that kind of energetic output.
Thank you.
I know that I want to be very respectful of your time, so I wanted to sort of start wrapping up. But
Mhm.
do you have any advice for other people who want to kind of build their career in many different directions, reinvent or redefine, or anything that you'd like to offer as a piece of advice? Either do what I did because this worked really well, or don't because this was not it for me.
You should do so. My bit of advice to your listeners is if any aspiring musicians or if you're in the middle of music, a music career, I wouldn't necessarily do me, because I I guess in retrospect I probably would have done things a little bit differently. Um, if you're happy with what you're doing, you're happy with the chamber orchestra that you're working with, and you like the people, then don't change things up. Because I tried to change things up when they were working, and I took a very circuitous route back to where I am now. But I'm a strange bird in that, I had health problems. I was looking for more. I was unhappy in what I was doing, and I needed to be an independent artist. I needed like more than anything else for my happiness. So that's probably a shortcoming in my, with respect to me. A lot of other people are just happy people, just doing whatever. So do you. That would be my first bit of advice. If you feel the need to do more, you're gonna take risks. But if that is who you are, like myself, then you'll be happier, in the long run, but it's going to be a painful ride. Like it's painful for me. It has been painful. It continues to be painful. But the light at the end of the tunnel, it kind of like makes it worth it, in
Mhm.
retrospect. So it's like, okay, I'm glad I went through hell to achieve what I've achieved now. Cause I get to look at this catalog of music that I've produced that's uniquely me, and I've expressed what has been in my soul for many years, and I'm connecting with an audience that deeply appreciates what I have produced. So, um, in that long-winded sense, yeah, if you're willing to put in the pain, or if you're willing, then you'll see greater outcomes. But don't kill yourself to achieve it, and look out for those labels that give you those 360 deals, because I would run like hell.
Yeah.
Independent, I think, is probably more worthwhile,
Mm,
unless you've achieved like a level of like significant fame that
sure.
they're going to come to the table and give you the deal that's worthwhile to you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really wonderful and so appreciated. Do you have anything else coming up or that you'd like to promote or talk about?
I mean, I'm playing events and concerts and private, like fundraisers, like every day, just about, these days. I'm looking forward to this Unitas. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. UNITAS fundraiser, mostly in the sense that it's just a deeply meaningful project, at the Edison Ballroom, New York, where they're fundraising to combat child trafficking, which I think is just like, it's just sickening to me, first of
Yeah.
all, that it's so prevalent, but also just it's just such an important cause. And it's one small step towards like making the world a better place and achieving certain level of like mental health internationally. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. It's like in a week or so, and the concert performances. I have a number of things in the works, and I'm just kind of I I'm trying to work out some details, with respect to the money and so on and so forth. But the releases are monthly. Check out Miserlou, and I post my gigs like on stories every night, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
welcome anybody to send me a DM and send some love. I always appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us here at Classical Schmassical, and thank you at home as well. If you enjoyed the show, there's plenty more where that came from. So do make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode since they come out so very regularly. Ah, yes, the most regular of shows. And if you would like to continue this conversation, please feel free to join the Discord linked in the description or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/classical schmassical, which is very easy to say as well.
And spell.
Yeah, and spell. It's schmassical. SCHMASSICAL. And remember, as always, stay classy and questionably classical.